But we promised to go even further to protect our communities. We proposed to invest to help provinces and territories put restrictions on handguns within their jurisdictions. However, in our discussions with law enforcement, advocates, and experts, it became apparent that we needed a different solution. So we decided to take a new route, something that would tackle this issue at a national level. And so today, we're moving forward. We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership.
Adam Soos here for Red Bolt News, and I'm with JR, the owner of the Shooting Edge here in Calgary, a great club, a club I myself come to frequently. Obviously, with Bill C-21, Justin Trudeau making further advances on the sort of rights of legal gun owners in this country, I thought I'd swing by. Obviously, you work in the industry, but you're also something of an expert in this field. So just maybe for folks out there who aren't familiar with firearms, for folks out there who don't know the sort of logistics that someone goes through to own a firearm, many people maybe get the sentiment, you walk in, you get one, that's the end of the story. How many sort of loopholes and rings and rules and red tape are people jumping through just to legally target shoot as it is?
Well, I think that's a good point, Adam, is that you don't just get to come in and buy a firearm. This is not the States. And the problem is the left or the antis always try to equate Canada to the US, but we have very different laws and very different cultures. So in Canada, before you can even buy a firearm, you have to take a firearm safety course, and that's 8 hours of training, and then you have to, once you finish that and you're tested, then you have to apply for the license. And then in that application, two people are used as guarantors, that they know you and that they think that you're okay with firearms. But also, if you're in a relationship, then you have to, or even out of one for up to 2 years, disclose that, because then they go and they check with that person to see whether or not they ever felt uncomfortable with you owning firearms. Yeah. So there's all these checks and balances along the way, and then eventually you get a firearms license. So that process takes generally 60 to 90 days. So it's not a quick process. Mm-hmm. It's not like you say, oh my God, I want to get a gun, and then go get one. You've got to go through all of that. Once you have that, then you still have to, if it's a restricted firearm, a handgun, when you go to buy it, we still have to go through another check, and that we have to submit the transfer to the RCMP again. So then they get a chance at that point saying, we don't think so, or there's other questions. So there's all of these things along the way. And then there's ancillary things like you have to be a member of a gun club, because there's really only a couple of ways to own a handgun in the country, and that is either to be a target shooter or to be a collector. And if you're a collector, then you have to actually express why you're collecting. Mm-hmm. And if you're a target shooter, you're supposed to express where you go to shoot. And that's generally with a membership at a gun club.
Prime Minister, any plans to monitor how many handguns are purchased between now and when the legislation passes?
We're going to continue to collect data and monitor as we always do. We're hopeful that this legislation is going to pass quickly so we can move forward with freezing the market on handguns.
What do you think of Justin Trudeau's gun grab?
There's no point to it in the sense of, like, for legal gun owners to, practice the sport and the hobbies that they enjoy. It's like if you like a fast car, but you're in a 50-kilometer zone, does that mean you shouldn't have that car because it's unnecessarily powerful and too fast? So yeah, it's just, there's no point to it. It's an ideology. It has nothing to do with safety. It's just no one should have guns but the government, and Liberals are big government, so they want you to rely on them and not yourself.
I think the biggest problem, honestly, is still the illegal guns coming across. The vast majority of people that are getting guns legally are using them for sport shooting, and that's who it hurts the most. As a community, it's really hurting us. Yeah. Like with the OIC, you saw a big decrease in 3-gun, which was a huge shooting sport before that went. Yeah. So now I think we're going to start seeing stuff like Steel Challenge and other shooting events kind of go the way of the dodo, because people just won't be able to get pistols. So as far as the community effect on the community, it's really, really bad.
I love the training that they gave us. I love the restrictions of how careful you have to be with locking down your weapons, and when you transport them, they have to be locked and you keep your ammunition safe. All those laws are already on the books here and in the States about things like that. So I don't see that what Trudeau is doing is democratic or Canadian.
It's unfair that Justin Trudeau is doing this to everybody. I think if crime's going to happen, it's going to happen anyways.
with this is that the first thing they do is they come and they take all your guns away. So depending on jurisdiction, there's going to be doors kicked in.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to be pleasant. Not going to be, hey, JR, there's been a complaint by somebody, we're going to suspend your license, right? Just, while you're working. So, you can't handle firearms, or we're going to come and get your firearms from you, or, like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a door kick in.
So that's what I was going to get to and ask was they have tweaked it. So it's not the current, like a spouse's concern. So they contact and they investigate. They have amended it so that it is more aggressive, and people could theoretically politically target people, report them, and see people's fundamental rights taken away.
Oh, 100%. And this is going to, I'm waiting. I wonder how many days after this is enacted that there'll be some complaint about me. Like every gun shop owner will have a complaint against them. Like it's just going to be one of those things because the left plays dirty.
Yeah.
Like they play so dirty that there's no honor amongst those thieves.
Yeah.
Right. And so they'll just start targeting anybody who owns firearms. It'll just be one of those things. It's going to be the brown shirts. They're going to be making these complaints, and all of a sudden, anybody who has collections, he waved a gun around. Like, no, he didn't. But they're going to come take the guns away, and then you can spend the $20,000-$30,000 to fight it, win, and get your guns back. But you're screwed.
Yeah.
Just like they automatically make registration certificates expire when they change a classification, which takes away your ability to have a Section 71 referral. Like you can't fight these things. Like they're taking it so you can't go to the courts for remedies now.
Yeah.
So that's the thing and that's very undemocratic.
Yeah.
Right? You should always have a remedy through the courts if you've been wronged.
How can I safely, effectively defend myself against somebody bigger than me that is intending to hurt myself, my family, come into my home?
We're not big ladies.
Yeah.
We need something sometimes if it comes to that, I think.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's a direct attack on legal gun owners, but I think it's just more of like a ploy to pretend he's doing something about people's safety rather than actually doing something about safety. Like instead of cracking down on illegal guns coming over the border, which are the majority of the ones used in violent crimes, he's basically attacking legal gun owners instead of cracking down on illegal gun owners and illegal importation of firearms.
We promised to go even further to protect our communities.
Taxpayers are going to be in for a sticker shock on how much they're going to pay for this that does nothing for public safety. Like if it did, if I honestly believe this had a chance of doing anything of a sizable measure for public safety, not onesie-twosie, but sizable measure, I'd probably be more behind it. But I know it's not. Yeah. Right? Other jurisdictions have shown that. People tout Australia. Okay, they got rid of, the gun mass murderers have gone away. They've had 18 or 19 mass killings using knives and arrows, bow and arrows, like guys using crossbows, since they banned guns. So nobody's talking about it, but they've had more since.
What this means is that it will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada. In other words, we're capping the market for handguns.
Well, I want to thank JR and the Shooting Edge so much for having us out today. I think it's important to get a perspective from inside the industry, from someone who really knows this stuff. So many people out there really don't know much about the industry, don't know much about the sports surrounding firearms, target shooting, hunting, all of that good stuff, and the extent to which these restrictions will affect them. So once again, grateful to have JR sort of breaking this down for us and giving us some practical outlooks on what may result as a result of Justin Trudeau's latest attack on legal firearm owners in Canada. As always, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Sos. Go to handsoffourguns.com if you believe that Justin Trudeau's attack on Canadian legal firearms owners is fundamentally wrong.